Hello, Flosstube. Jan Hicks here. I've been talking about doing this for a while, mentioning it on several groups, so here I am. Nervous as all first Flosstubers, but I'm going to give this a go. I think I have a lot to share. Well, I know I have a lot to share. Goes without saying, right? Hopefully you'll enjoy this, and you'll get to know me, and I'll get to know you, and we'll have some fun. A little bit about why I'm doing this. I have been around in a lot of different craft forums, online forums, digital scrapbooking, knitting, and I have made some of my best friends through online forums. Met in person, and it was just like we'd known each other forever. I hope to do that in the cross stitch world too. I know the potential that coming together with the same likes and the same passions has for friendships. So I'm really looking forward to making friends with whoever out there I might connect with. And I hope it's a lot of you, because I know there's a lot of people out there that share this interest and this passion. A little bit about me. Maybe a lot about me, maybe more than what you care to hear about me. I've been stitching since I was in high school. My mother was a multi-craftual. My grandmother mostly knit and crocheted, but again, always doing something, and that's the background I come from. I can't sit and just watch TV or read a magazine. That feels like a waste of time to me. I have to be doing something with my hands, so I always have. Stitching came and went through my life, through kids and work, and different crafts took priority over stitching. So it's not like I have stitched constantly since I was in high school. I stitched pretty passionately when I first left college and moved down to Maryland for my job. Pretty much all of my disposable income went to stitching. For a short while, I lived around the corner from a really great cross-stitch store in Catonsville, Maryland, called the Stitching Post. So yeah, a lot of my income went there. And I probably still have some of those charts that I've never done. Such is life. I learned to knit when I was in my mid-20s, again, pre-kids, and took up knitting pretty passionately as well. I still enjoy knitting today. So my Flosstube channel is actually going to be both stitching and knitting, because they're really what I spend my time doing mostly. I went through, but once I started having kids, I have two boys, Samuel, who's 21, and Ben, who is 19. They both currently live in Orlando. Samuel is working on finding himself, I guess, deciding what he wants to do with his life. Ben is going to a school on Universal Studios for video game design. He is my other creative, has my creative genes. But once kids came along, I kind of stopped doing a lot of that. Knitted some here and there, but didn't spend as much time. Slowly got more back into knitting. Discovered scrapbooking, as a lot of us do with kids. Fell hard into the paper scrapbooking world and the stamping world. Worked at a scrapbook store here in Maryland for a short while. Taught scrapbooking and stamping, as well as worked the floor there. Really enjoyed that. I worked for a stamping company, creating samples for their website and samples for their convention booth, showing how their product, their stamps, could be used in scrapbook pages. Not long after that, I discovered digital scrapbooking and fell even harder. Kind of left the paper scrapbooking world for digital scrapbooking, got hired by Scrap Girls, an online store, creating digital scrapbooking products for them. I also taught for them, and after they grew big enough, we had 5, 6, 7 teachers, I don't remember now. I kind of headed up the teaching department and helped hire the teachers and help them create their PDFs for classes. This was all online classes, help them teach. So I have a teaching theme throughout everything. Let's see. After digital scrapbooking and stamping, around about the same time as that was kind of, I wouldn't say petering out, but my husband is a writer. He worked for the federal government. He self-published his first book in 2008. He writes sci-fi, fantasy, adventure. His kind of series, trilogies, multiple trilogy series. His main one, In Her Name, is kind of a space opera, sci-fi, romance, war, everything. It's an awesome series. And then his other one, Season of the Harvest, is more of a his take on what happens when GMOs go bad. It's the one that really took off in 2011, and his book royalties were doing so well, still all self-published, mostly from Amazon. He was able to quit work. 2012, we took a life-changing trip to Sarasota, Florida, fell in love. Since we were both working from home, we decided, hey, why don't we move to Florida? So we did. At that point, the boys were in just starting 8th and just starting 10th. My younger one was gung-ho, let's go tomorrow. My older one he's the one that has a bit of a problem with change, so he didn't adapt as easily. But we moved to Florida. We lived there for 5 years. I was fortunate enough to live 3 minutes from what I consider one of the best yarn stores in Florida, one of the best yarn stores in the country, A Good Yarn in Sarasota, one run by a wonderful woman who became a very dear friend, Susan Post, staffed by some incredible knitters and some incredible friends, and the community there is very dear to my heart. If you ever get a chance, if you're at all interested in knitting or weaving or spinning, run, don't walk to A Good Yarn. I worked there for 3 years. I taught there. Again, just a very, very dear part of my heart. Unfortunately, the book sales started to die. Not die, but taper off in 2015, 2016, to the point where my husband realized he was going to have to go back to work. And so he decided the smartest thing to do was to see if he could get rehired by the federal government agency that he worked for before. He only had 5 years to go to retirement, so it made sense to come back here and work those retirement years if he could get his clearance back, which he did, and he was rehired without a problem. So here we are back in Maryland. Now, I did want to say, if you are at all interested in that genre of books that I mentioned, I highly recommend, again, commercial, you look up Michael R. Hicks on Amazon. Check out his books. If you like that type of story, you will love him. You will see that he has thousands of reviews. I'm biased. He's a very good writer, and you'll see that from the reviews as well. So anyways, we moved back to Maryland. Here we are in Maryland. We sold our house, moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. Sorry, my hair. Downsized quite considerably, and a lot of my consideration of what I do now and how I handle my addiction to stitching and knitting is surrounded by the fact that I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we very much don't believe in clutter. While we were in Florida, because we were able to, every summer when the boys would get out of school, we would hit the road. We have a 38-foot Class A motorhome. We would hit the road in our RV and spend 8 to 10 weeks out on the road, visiting different parts of the country. What an amazing country we live in. We spent 10 weeks in New England one summer. We spent, the last summer trip we did was 8 weeks in Colorado and Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. OMG, just an amazing part of the country. We did a summer trip to the Southwest. My in-laws live in Phoenix, so we did a summer trip to the Southwest. But anyways, we realized in those trips that stuff is highly overrated. We don't need a bunch of stuff. It is all just stuff, except my, my knitting and stitching stuff. The rest of it is just stuff. And so we were very happy to have the opportunity to get rid of a ton and move and downsize tremendously. It is just my husband and I now. My boys, like I said, are out of the house. So we do have a luxury of not having a big place and I want to keep it that way. So you'll see whenever I talk about it, I don't like to get paper patterns. I prefer PDFs. My knitting, I totally use PDFs on an app called Knit Companion, and I actually use Knit Companion for my PDFs and cross stitch too. And there's at some point I will do a video on how to use Knit Companion for both knitting and cross stitch, but more cross stitch specifically because there's a lot of tutorials out there already for knitting. Okay, that is who I am. On to the good stuff, right? So, like I said, both stitching and knitting. I'm going to start with showing you some finished things in both of my sports, as I like to call them, and then I'll start showing you the stuff I'm working on, which just seems to grow and grow and grow. Okay, so my finishes you've seen on, if you are on Stitch Mania, if you are on Cross Stitch Unlimited, if you happen to follow me on Instagram, you've seen these already. This is my most recent finish. And of course, everything is backwards on the computer. I never do good with backwards anyways. I have an awful time backing up and looking in the rearview mirror because everything's flipped around and it drives me crazy. Okay, so little wooden thingy. That's the professional technical term that I got at Joann's on clearance. Forgive me for looking out the window. This is Silvercreek Sampler's Promise of Spring. As soon as I saw this, I knew I had to have it. As somebody who's moved back to the north from Florida, Florida is my happy place. Sarasota is my happy place. I hate being cold. So when I saw this, no winter lasts forever, no spring skips its turn, this is really a promise to me that spring is coming, and spring has always been my favorite season. So yeah, I was thrilled to see this, perfect for me, and just so happy to finish it and get it up where I can see it every day and know that spring will come. It's coming. I also finished this one. Anybody who knows me, and you will get to know me, turquoise is my color. Again, beach colors. I know this isn't beachy exactly, but it had the turquoise in it, and I love these colors, and I love Christmas music. I loved working on this. I thought this was such a sweet piece. This is Snowflake Serenade by Country Cottage Needleworks. I'm not going to try and remember the material I used. A lot of my fabrics, some of them still have tags on it. Some of them is stash that I've had, from when I first started stitching from way back when. Some of them have tags, I'll be able to identify it. Some of them won't. I'll do what I can. This one was from my stash. I don't remember what it was. I did try and Priscillify this a little bit. I'm not very good at decorating. I'll be the first to admit it. I think I did pretty good, but again, I don't want to get into, I'm not a frou-frou person to begin with. I don't want to get into having a lot of stuff laying around. So this other finish where it's just the matted mounted piece, I think is perfect. Clean lines, simple. These are Velcroed on, so I can reuse the wooden thingies. Should another perfect fitting piece come along. Okay, finishes for stitching, finishes for knitting. Just a couple, my recent ones, because yeah, I'm a prolific knitter too. My favorite knitwear designer is Laura Nelkin. So mostly what I'm going to show you today is her things, only because she does in her Ravelry group a first quarter knit along, and you can do current works in progress with that. Well, I may have 10 of her designs in progress. So my goal for her first quarter knit along this year is to get these puppies done. So for the first few months when I'm doing these videos, assuming I'm going to do more of these, that's what you're going to see is her designs. So forgive me, I do knit other people's designs, but Laura's is a lot of mine. So number one, Transitus hat, done in a worsted weight. I'm also a yarn snob, so you're not going to see Joann yarn. You're not going to see Michael's yarn with me. I don't do acrylic. When I start having grandkids, many years down the road, please, then I may consider a wool acrylic blend, but I don't do acrylic. So, Yarn Snob unabashed. This is a Malabrigo and a Anzola Merino, it's probably superwash. Transitus, like I said, is the name. Little pom-pom that I got from A Good Yarn. The yarn's from A Good Yarn too. Pretty much all my yarn's going to be from A Good Yarn. If I showed you my yarn stash, I mean, it's my cross-stitch stash has nothing on my yarn stash. And yeah, I need a hat. For a girl that lived in flip-flops and sandals for 5 years, I don't like the fact that I need a hat. This is Laura Nelkin's pattern Crucero. This is a pattern she designed for a cruise, a knitting cruise, that she taught on a few years ago that I went on. Laura is known for lace and beads. If you are at all interested, warning, commercial time again, if you are at all interested in learning lace work, learning lace and beads, Laura has quite a few craftsy classes that are excellent sources. I learned to knit lace with Laura on Craftsy. I learned to knit lace with beads with Laura on Craftsy. Now I am quite prolific and I do a lot of her work and I'm not intimidated at all. This is one of them. I don't know whether you can see. This is beaded. Let's see. You can see the beads down here. So the bottom's beaded. Oh, that's a little too close. There we go. And then you come up this wing to the center. And then over here, the other wing is a mimic of the other side with the beads down at the bottom. And then we had a crocheted on edge that is also beaded. This was a lot of fun. Laura's patterns also are known for multi-part kind of modular, where you do different smaller parts and then they all come together as a whole in kind of an amazing origami type of thing. Okay, finished. Now we're on to works in progress. Where to start? Okay. I am doing 2 large stitch-alongs. I have a kind of loose idea for a rotation in that those 2 stitch-alongs, and they each come out with a new chart every month for 12 months, so they are going to be long and big. Once I finish my stitch-alongs, then I can pick up, for the month, then I can pick up, and if I have time before the next chart comes out for the next month, then I can pick up one of my other projects and work on that. So let's start with Harbor Haven. Harbor Haven is by the Bay Needleworks. This is a 12-part series. You could either stitch these as single pieces or maybe as a double piece, or as one big piece. And I think a lot of people on the Facebook group are doing it as one big piece. Her, this fabric, hand dyed, I've had it forever. I don't know where I got it. I don't know when I got it. Beautiful though, isn't it? Very sky-like, and love it, love it, love it. The pattern calls for DMCs. I'm using most DMC, but I am also using some hand dyeds for some of the bigger spaces. The leaves and the tree are, I believe, are Shutter Green from Art Sampler threads. The water is Tropical Ocean. I'm using, I think this is Shutter Green back behind this flower as well. I'm using something else here too, and I don't remember what it is. Old Hickory, I think. All Sampler Arts. So let me show you. This is not a mystery. This is not a mystery stitch along. This is, you know what it is. I'm going to show you. This is my app Knit Companion. This is a picture of the whole piece. So, kind of a glare from my lamp here. Let's see if I can get this. Whoops. Oh, go away, Siri. Okay. So we are starting, sorry about that, guys. We're starting over here on the left. So that's the first section right here. We just got the second section. I'm having an awful time. That second panel right there, that was the second month. We started in December. So January is that second panel. So I haven't started that, but I'm looking forward to that. As you can see, beautiful, beautiful harbor scene. Oh. Isn't that sweet? The little boats, I just adore this. Lambs, I mean, what's not to love? Different types of trees. Oh my God, can't wait. So that's that one. The other monthly stitch along I'm doing is Modern Folk Arts 4-Season Quaker Stitch Along. This one is a mystery stitch along. It started in January. So this is the pattern for that. And he provided, Jakob provided, let's see, the outlines, the borders as well. I don't know whether I'm going to try and get those stitched or just stitch them as I go. I'll probably just stitch them as I go. So that's that, and let me find, okay. There is what I have done of that so far. It'd help if I show you the front. As with many of these Quaker type of things, Jakob designed this with one color thread. I love color. I'm not somebody who could easily use just one color through a whole piece like this. It would probably drive me insane. I love color. So I'm using 4 colors. The fabric, I have this in X stitch. I put everything in there, keep track. I'm used to keeping track of all my projects on Ravelry, my knitting projects. So it's kind of second nature for me to use the X Stitch app to keep track of all of my cross stitch projects. So, alrighty, come on. All right, this is 40 count. Flagstone is the color linen from Lakeside Linens. 40 count. And doing it 1/2. This is the first time since I've gotten old and returned to cross stitch that I've worked with 40 count, something this small. So I've discovered very quickly that, holy cow, I need a magnifier. My readers just aren't cutting it. So I ordered some magnifiers, some of those ones that just sit on your chest. I don't know whether I'll like them. I ordered those from Amazon. I am waiting their arrival. The floss colors that I'm using for this are, let's see, all Gentle Arts Sampler threads. Let's see, Wrought Iron. Let me find them. Wrought Iron is the main color. That's the dark outline. I wanted like a navy blue. So that is that. This is kind of a bluish black. My other choice was Midnight. It was too blue. I wanted something darker. This is Liberty. It has a bit of a grayish blue. I wanted grays and blues. That's my palette. This is Crystal Lake, a darker gray. Like none of these are focusing very well. I'm sorry about that. I've got to figure things out. Picket Fence is a kind of a paler gray. What my focal length is with this. And last but not least, we have Morning Glory. Such a pretty blue. Look at that. So those are my colors for this. I am looking forward to getting that magnifier and seeing if that will speed up. I've been trying to stitch this without, and it's slow going, and by the time I've done a half an hour, my eyes are just so tired. They feel goopy. I just can't do anymore. So those are the two stitch alongs. The other things that I have going, let's see. One of them is the Schoolhouse series by Brenda Gervais that came out over the summer. I'm sure you all recognize this. I'm doing it over one on 28 count Lugana, mushroom Lugana, as the pattern calls for. But instead of doing it, again, living where we live and how we live, I like these cute little pillow things. Number one, I'd have to finish them, and I'm not good at that. And number two, we don't have a whole lot of flat space to put things out on. We have our TV stand, we have kitchen counters. Oh, I also have two very fluffy cats, and any flat surface is fair game for them to lay on. And so I don't have a good place where I could put this out and have them be undisturbed and not totally covered in cat fur in short order. So I'm doing it as one big piece. All that to say, I'm doing it as one big piece. This is what I have so far. I love stitching this. It's such a sweet piece. I actually haven't picked it up in a while though, because I've been overtaken by other things, as also happens, right? But I am looking forward to getting this done. I think it's gorgeous. So there's that one. We have a place in our kitchen, little hook thingy that we hang our keys from, and it needs something above it. So have been looking for something above it. My husband and I are wine drinkers. Well, he more than I. I have trouble with headaches. I'm trying to find a wine that doesn't give me a headache every time I drink it. But anyways, we do enjoy a good glass of wine. And so I found this. It's just a dimensions kit. I thought it was pretty. I love, love, love the shading on the grapes and on the leaves. I totally threw away the drab brown Ada that came with it. I don't like to stitch on Ada. I will also say, okay, just like I'm a yarn snob, I am sort of a fabric snob as well. I'll stitch on Ada. It's not my favorite. I prefer a more refined look, if you will. So I did get rid of the drab brown Ada that came with it, and it was also like a 14 count, and I didn't want it to be that big. And used a linen from my stash. And this is, let me see if I can hold something up behind this. This is what I've done so far. Ooh. Yeah. So you can see I have a leaf there, and some of the grapes are starting to take life. Love this, and of course once I actually get to the back stitching part, it'll really come alive. But I think I'm really going to like this. I think this is a 32 count linen, so I'm doing 2 over 2 with this. Much easier on my eyes. Yeah, but I'm happy with that. And again, the colors. Love color. It's gorgeous. Okay, let's pile that over there in the scene pile. All right. Various and sundry other things that I'm either working on or have kitted up but haven't quite started yet. This one is the Linen and Threads Mystery Sampler. I've had this posted in several different places. This is from 2017. I am in no hurry to get this done now that the 2017 is over and the 2018 has started. I'm not going to be doing 2018. At least in my head now, I'm not. But this is what I have from the 2017 one. Again, that's one that was made for one color. Ain't no way I would do it with one So this is what I have so far. These colors this is a funny story. I had gotten a cross-stitch Afghan kit many, many, many moons ago. Never did it. I probably gave to Goodwill the pattern and the Afghan fabric itself. You know, it was like a cloth that you cross-stitch on, right? But I kept the floss. And so these colors, I didn't put these together on my own. These were the colors that were in that Afghan. And so that's what I'm using. Because I knew they'd work together and I didn't have to think too hard about it. So, up to April on that. Who knows when I'll get that done. Slowly but surely. I got April done. I put it back away in favor of other things. Let's see. I'm going to attempt to show you in Dropbox something that I have. So, as a knitter, as a yarn aficionado, I decided that I might not concentrate, but I really love all the little designs with sheep. I have the Louise and Henry, is that right? From is it Country Cottage or Little House? I don't remember which one it is. But I got that pattern like when I started stitching again, and I discovered them because, hey, it's a cute sheep. I came across this pattern. It's called I'm not even going to attempt the French. I do not speak French. I speak other languages. I was a linguist for 18 years, but French is not one of them. Jardin Privé, I hope I didn't butcher that too much. History of Sheep. I came across this I think I was looking at cross-stitch images of something in Google, and I came across this, and I searched until I found it. So I don't have any place where I can show you, it's for a four-parter. I don't have any place where I can show you all of the pieces together. So I have the pattern in Dropbox, so I'm going to show you each piece, and hopefully you'll get an idea of what I'm dealing with here. Okay, so this, let me zoom in. This is part 1. Is that sweet, or is that sweet? Look at those sheep and the flowers and the houses. Who doesn't love houses, right? History of Sheep, Jardin Privé, and you can see doing it, all of them together, that's where part 1 is going to sit in the pattern. Okay, part 2 sits in the pattern there, and that is what part 2 looks like. OMG, little sheep jumping over a little fence. I don't know that sheep actually do that, but you know. And the alphabet is so pretty. And of course, house and trees. Oh my God, I want to start this so bad. Part 3, that's where it sits in the scheme. And a close-up of part 3. Look at the little sheep with a little heart on it. And look at the little brown sheep down amongst all the white ones there. How sweet is that? That tree is beautiful. Oh, okay, and 4. This is where 4 sits. And I think this is probably my favorite part, because it has a woman spinning yarn. And that woman's name to me will be Laura, because one of the ladies I worked with at a Good Yarn, our spinning guru, is named Laura, and she's my sweet friend. So more sheep, with little brown sheep and the little bees and the little house. I just adore this. So this will get started soon. I am holding off on starting it until I get further along in my again, trying to get the sals done before I start anything else. So for that, I am using parchment. Whether you can see, it's looking a little gray there. It's actually parchment. And let's see, the tag's still on this. This is 36 count parchment, and I don't know who the company is. I got this at a stitching post up in Catonsville. And let me also say, so I mentioned a stitching post earlier on when I was talking about how I started stitching and moving down here and blah, blah, blah. And I lived around the corner from them in Catonsville. I cannot tell you how thrilled I was when I moved back here to Maryland and decided to start stitching again, to find that the stitching post is still in business and still going strong. That doesn't happen very long or very often in today's world, that small mom and pop stores like that last so long. They, goodness, that was the late 80s, early 90s, late 80s, when I shopped there before. So you do the math. Many years that they've been in business and still going strong, and I'm absolutely thrilled. And yes, I'm making sure people online get my money too, but I'm making sure that a good portion of it goes to a stitching post. So this is a very nice linen 36 count parchment for my history of sheep. This pattern is DMC colors. I do have a sampler thread straw bonnet in here. Maybe I'm planning on doing the sheep in that. I don't remember. I'll figure it out. The other ones I have kitted up that I plan on starting sometime in the not too distant future. The Cricket collection months, I have December ready to go. So I probably at this point won't start this until later in the year, but that is ready to go. And this one may be my birthday start. The Silvercreek Samplers, Do Re Mi, Sing a Sampler series, Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do. My mother and I loved Sound of Music. Watched it every year, one of our favorite shows. So when I saw this, again, returning to cross stitch, discovering all kinds of new designers and new stuff, I came across this and I knew I had to have it. So I have that all kitted up. I have a gray even weave. I don't know whether this has, though. Let me see if I put it in X stitch. 30 count Murano pewter, just like I know what I'm doing. So I have that ready to go. I'm actually using one of the gals on, I don't remember whether it was Stitch Mania or Cross Stitch Unlimited, had done this all together, like in 2 rows, and she had changed the colors to be brighter. And she actually, once I examined what she used, she kind of used a rainbow Roy G. Biv setup for the colors. So I just looked through what I had and pulled out those colors. So that's what I'm using for that. So that is my cross stitch stuff that I'm working on, or soon to be working on. Sorry, I just went out of your screen and I'm continuing to talk. Let me show you a couple knitting things. Again, Laura Nelkin patterns, because I've got to get this stuff done. The first one I'm going to show you is called Las Cruces Shawl. It again is a modular piece where you work on the 2 wings and then work up the center panel. So this is kind of a partial shot. This is from her book, Laura Nelkin's book, Knockout Knits, by the way. Laura Nelkin, the designer. If I could figure out where my fingers are, there we go. So that is that. Why is that not focusing? I'm gonna have to figure that out. So I have, here's one wing done. This is a Noro yarn that I'm using. Noro, which one is it? I believe it's Tayo. Yeah, Tayo lace. I am almost done with the second wing. And then I will be working up, connecting these two wings, working up the center panel. So that's an easy one. The next one ain't so easy. Laura has, like I said, she's a master lace knitter. She has been exploring the lace patterns, Japanese lace, Shetland lace, Estonian lace, and what she has done with this next pattern I'm going to show you, it's called Lace Mashup, because she has taken patterns from all those different historical genres, I guess, and brought them together into one shawl. Let me actually, I need to find a picture of this for you. Sorry, I should have had this set up before and I didn't. Hold that thought, hold that thought. We're getting there. Lace mashup, there it is. I'm looking on Ravelry, by the way, because everything is on Ravelry. All right, so lace mashup. Laura, for this particular one, used a Shetland wool called, I think, Jameson Spindrift. Again, this is another one where you work the wings first, and then you work that middle panel, and then you do the edging, the border along the bottom here. So I have barely started the first wing. I'm actually using a lace weight yarn because I wanted mine to be more open and frothy. So go like this. Lace looks like crap until you block it. So let me see if I can hold this up behind it, if you can see a better idea. This bottom piece was actually, or the end was actually blocked, so I could see what this yarn would look like. So this gives you a better idea. Of what the pattern will look like. See that? Isn't it pretty? So I'm only working on this about an hour a day. She again has another knit along. This is incorporated into the first quarter knit along, but it also is a lace mashup knit along going for the first quarter. I'm working on it about an hour a day. I can get a repeat done, one of the lace repeats done in an hour. So this is going to take me probably pretty much the full first quarter, and that's okay. It's not a race. I'm hoping to get the other shawl done fairly quickly, and so I can move on to some of the other works in progress of hers that I've had sitting for years. I think that's it. 45 minutes, that's not bad. That's a little longer than I hoped to be, but with the introduction and everything, I expected this one to go a little longer. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you watch. I hope you watch again. We'll see. I hope to do more. I think I have a lot to share. At the very least, it's a record of what I'm doing. So it's all good. Thank you for watching. Thank you for saying hi. I look forward to the next time. Bye-bye.